what they're doing right now in AEW is purposely pairing veteran leadership with youngsters. And I think that that's a great example of that is Cody Rhodes. He week in, week out has made an emphasis to try to work with some of the younger guys in this company and try to put some guys over. If it wasn't that long ago when he had the TNT championship and he had those open challenges, guys. And this was a great example. I mean, how often do we see Angelico in singles action on national television?
I know. Right? I know. I mean, the whole segment with Cody was a great part of the show. It was a great way to follow up a nice hot opener. You know, as we talked about earlier, the baby that they're expecting. And what bothers me about this match and like all the other matches is a lot of times when they go to picture in picture, you miss some important things that they don't revisit. You know, Arn Anderson and Jack Evans got in each other's face. You know, that was kind of a little cool thing. There was some cool or great moves and some parts. There wasn't any low parts of the match. And in picture in picture, you're watching it and you're like, oh, I want to see what happened or hear what happened. So that was a little bummer about that. But, you know, and Angelico and TH2, you know, we've been tooting their horn for the past few weeks, rightfully so. They've been doing very well in the ring. And to finally we get to see Angelico's entrance.
Oh man, I was so happy because so many people were bumming out. I mean, I was definitely bummed last week when I know the show was so tight, but when we didn't get to see TH2 come out, I missed that entrance. I love like Angelico is just so chill. Like I love it. His entrance is so chill. Like the dude, like I just vibe with Angelico. I think he's just got that cool. He's got a cool vibe going, and I love TH2's entrance. I think that those guys kill it, and I just like overall what we're seeing out of TH2. I think that you know this edge that they have to them is starting to kind of it's giving them another spark. These characters needed something, and I think that feeling slighted, being really the first tag team to sign with AEW outside of the Young Bucks, first tag team to sign with the AEW, being here since day one, kind of being put on the back burner. I think that this adds that chip on the shoulder to those guys. And I really like that. I really like how they continue to lean into that. You know, Crayfish from our team here at AEW Dynamite loves him some dirtbag Jack Evans. The dude continues to get in there in people's faces. And yeah, that's what I agree with you, SPD. That picture in picture robbed us of some great character work by Jack Evans. And that's one of the things I've noticed too. When they do picture in picture, I feel like I miss the sound and the character interaction more than I benefit from seeing the visual. I think it feels
That's
like
a good point.
it feels like it's more of a tease than a help. I don't like it either. I think it's a choice that they make possibly to try to continue to squeeze, as much content in it is as they can in, and potentially maybe to keep viewers in through commercial breaks. They don't want to lose people to switching channels.
Right.
But I can't, I'm with you, man. I can't get behind the picture in picture. I can't tell you a time in which I was like, wow, this is great. Even when there's great moments or like moves that get pulled off during that. You and I have talked about, pile drive. Like I remember there was pile driver on the apron during a Lucha Bros match that you were particularly fired up about. That just, it was like, you're going to deliver something like that and it's going to be on a picture in picture. Like that doesn't seem right. And
if they're going to do the picture in picture, they need to do a replay. Focus the replay on the low parts. They need, the production team to realize that this was a high point. This was a wow moment. So show us what it is, or somehow feature like a social exclusive, like tune into or go on our Instagram or Twitter to watch the picture in picture, so they can kind of just keep the fans going.
That's
but
smart.
You're staying it still tuned in.
That's smart.
I kind of agree with you. I get why they're doing it, not to lose viewers, but it's almost better off that they just go to the commercial and then they come back live and be like, wow, we were gone. And then they hit the highlights there.
I agree.
Overall, but back to the match itself.
Yeah. Let's get into the Cody segment. I mean,
it's given me an elite for the match.
AEW's production values and their music, their sound, their images. We here at Dynamite Download, we've put in, and SPD, you can say, I mean, you are a graphic guy here, dude. The amount of time and energy that it takes to create the kind of content that AEW is putting out there, we are just small fish in the pond. We understand how hard it is to create your own content. And so what AEW is doing, I love what they're doing. I mean, their music that Ruckus promotes is always on point. Their entrances are some of the best in wrestling. All of their graphics, especially for their match announcements and pay-per-views, their posters have been incredible. Full Gear had some of the best visuals. I even go back now as a geek fan and look at those pictures, those promotional pictures of Kingston versus Moxley and some of that stuff from Full Gear. They do a great job. So, we're not critiquing AEW in a way that we're slamming the product, but I just feel like you and I both are on the same page. We can't quite connect with that picture-in-picture. That said, let's get back to the main portion of what we were talking about here, and let's give some spotlight to Cody. Like we talked about, he announced some huge news in his personal life, but his professional career is not taking the foot off the gas by any stretch of the imagination. You commented on it before, SPD. It feels like Cody has got so many people all over him. He's getting pulled in so many different directions, and he's certainly sort of the center of a lot that's going on and a lot that has people buzzing around the internet. What were your thoughts about Cody's promo and the Cody Rhodes and Angelico match?
The match, the overall segment, the whole part of the episode was definitely an elite. The announcement, really had your heart tug on your heartstrings. How could it not? I mean, following them on social media, I know they got a new dog, so I don't know if it was just like a new dog kind of announcement, which rightfully so. I mean, whatever. But if you're gonna take TV time away from a new dog announcement, that'd be surprising. But it was great. But the match itself, I always think it is so impressive the way he jumps on the ropes, and then he did that Cody cutter for the finish. He didn't do the crossroads, which was nice to show kind of his repertoire, what he's got in the bag and different things he can do. And Angelico looked very strong. And, his twisting of the legs and the maneuvers and the submissions, dude, they just make me ache and pain. I'm like, if he could just does one wrong thing, he definitely could tear someone's knee. And it's fun to watch TH2 as we see week in and week out. They deserve a spot, and I'm guilty of it. I forgot about them, and it's easy to forget about them because there's so much talent and so much depth to the roster, both singles and tag team action. So overall, it was great. And before we dive into what happened post match, what did you think of the match? What was it? Was it elite or delete for you?
Let me jump in really quick here because I know that there's so much still to unpack. That said, because there's so much stuff that happened after the match that I know you and I want to talk about. But the match itself, I really liked being able to see Angelico in the ring. I think that sometimes, I'll be honest, even getting more and more into TH2, I'm naturally more drawn to Jack Evans. I just feel like the guy has a ton of personality and he shows it. And Angelico's naturally kind of chill vibe. He kind of falls in the background, right? So I thought this was a really nice way to thrust him in the spotlight, and he delivered. I mean, obviously Cody's one of the few guys in professional wrestling who is such a great blank canvas in the sense that he's athletic enough that he can hang with guys who are quick and fast, but Cody's a powerhouse too. And he also has amateur background, as far as wrestling goes. So there's really not much that Cody can't do. And it serves as such a great blank canvas for other wrestlers to paint their art on, and to sort of showcase their ability and what their vision is for the match. And so Cody did a great job in this matchup. I think that the only drawback was that I feel like that Cody cutter finish kind of did undercut some of the offense that Angelico put on throughout the match. He was really working on those knees, really working on Cody's lower extremities. Really put a lot of agonizing submission holds on, whereas Cody had to break up his submissions multiple times. The one that we saw where he had to bite down on the bottom rope, just biting down on the bottom rope out of pure desperation because he had no limbs available to break up the mat. That was an example of Angelico's submission background. And I think that a lot of people forget. I mean, when you look at TH2, you see, bright colors, and you kind of wonder what their offense is all about.
Yep.
And you kind of maybe push them aside as just a high flying kind of team, but there's so much more to them than that. Both of these guys are are balanced offensive competitors. I think Jack Evans obviously is the high flyer. He's got that lucha libre background that he loves, but being able to see Angelico tonight put on some good submission moves and hold his own against a top guy like Cody in a good match that was not this epic that made me feel like Cody. I didn't really think that Cody was going to lose at any point in the match, even with some of those submissions. I thought it was a great match. I thought it worked really well, and it served its point in setting the stage for Cody to really get get Team Taz to come out and rain on his parade. Cody comes out and announces a new baby on the way. He gets a nice clean W over Angelico, who, like we just talked about, TH2 has really been buzzing lately in AEW. So, Cody's riding high, and Taz, as always, doesn't like it when other people are happy. Taz likes to make sure other people are miserable. I think that Taz has got that miserable bastard vibe to him, and he's got it down pat. He does such a great job in sort of having that chip on his shoulder, no matter how much recognition he gets, no matter how much money his team makes, no matter what, he will always have a chip on his shoulder. I love that about Taz. I love that about his presentation. The guy is so intense and so fierce and fired up on the mic. What were your thoughts on the post-match shenanigans on this, SPD? Great visual that you have there. This obviously, I was just rattling on about how Team Taz came out, but it all ended up with the stinger.
Oh my gosh, this was you kind of anticipated something like this to happen, and it was perfect. It was just great. Taz, as and me, we toot his horn as he deserves it, rightfully so. He is one of the best on the mic ever. I mean, he is just so convincing. He can shut a crowd up in a snap of your fingers and just make you believe everything that comes out of his mouth. And I loved how he told Cody he's going to put him on paternity leave. It's so great. And they kept calling Turtle Boy Darby. Turtle Boy.
I liked that too.
So
that
they
was
were making
funny.
some real good jabs. And then, of course, if they're going to go, attack Cody, then the snow and the lights go out, and the snow with Sting's entrance, I think, is just fantastic. I mean,
I love that.
Adds so much to his aura, and it's such more intimidation factor. And
Agreed.
As you tweeted out, how Hobbs was the only one that wasn't really scared of Sting. He was kind of trying to go face to face, but rightfully so by his leader, Team Taz, was holding him back. And so Team Taz, as we've talked about time and time again, any one of those members should be in the ring every single week in Dynamite. They are too good of a team, too good of wrestlers that are involved. Ricky Starks is making leaps and bounds strides to being such a star, and Brian Cage putting up an outstanding performance in Dark. We can go on and on and on about that.
I agree, SPD. I agree. There should be some representation of Team Taz in the ring each week. Week. These guys they all can present and bring such different styles to the ring. And that's what I love about Team Taz so much, is just how much they complement each other.
Yeah.
And I know that this segment is really about Cody and it's about Sting, and you got two huge icons there. But for me, I left this being impressed by Team Taz. And maybe that's like my bias towards AEW. I don't know. I like the heels. I don't know, but for me, I was blown away by the way that these guys continue to deliver. Taz is so good on the mic. You just said it really well, but Ricky Starks continues to look more and more like a star. I think it's become basically undeniable at this point that guy has serious championship potential. I think that when you look at somebody who just walks it and talks it, the guy is a natural. He there's nothing he can't do, and you can tell he feels confident every time he's on screen. And I think that's something that's irreplaceable. You can teach people some moves, you can teach people different things, but you can't teach that confidence. That has to come from inside, and he has that in spades. So I love what he brings. But I also was like, I mean, you saw it. I tweeted out. I mean, I thought this was a star-making moment for Willie Hobbs. I mean, it was sort of a moment in passing that didn't get the shine that we got to see with Sting and the visual there. But for Willie Hobbs to to continue to walk towards Sting like he wanted. He wasn't backing down, even though Sting's holding the baseball bat. For Hobbs to showcase that sort of that toughness. That's exactly why we love Willie Hobbs. That's exactly why he's the powerhouse, is that guy from day one showed something different when it comes to his sort of his edge. He's got that signature snarl, that mean mug going on right now.
Yep.
And I think that edge that is inside him, where maybe it's been because of the life he's gone through and some of the things that he's seen in his life, but it's obvious that nothing shakes that guy anymore. He's not afraid. And he sees his own strength. He can overcome any obstacle in his way. So I loved that. I loved the way that those guys played off each other. And I think that one of the things that you and I always talk about with AEW is their ability to continue to plant seeds, continue to nurture storylines and to build off of those. This was a great example. This was a segment that really allowed all these guys to interact with each other. We want to see what's going to happen with Team Taz and Cody. We want to see what's going to happen between Team Taz and Darby, who was looking out in the crowd again, ominously up in the crowd.
There's
a lot going on with the storyline. That's more to come.
Yep.